Many moons ago here at Roll for Crit, we did a playback episode for the Mansion of Madness First Edition. Since then, though, they made a second edition, which actually runs off an app on your phone or tablet. So you do not need someone to play as the Dark Mastermind. The app will do it for you. In addition, there have been 2 expansions releases, Across the Threshold and Streets of Arkham. I've decided to play through every scenario available to test them out, see what I liked, what I didn't like, and tell you about them. Each scenario was played, including the DLC, with me playing by myself, playing as 2 investigators. Some of them I did play with more people, which I'll mention, and say how that affected. But some scenarios may be better or worse with more people. So we're going to start off with probably my least favorite, but other people's probably their favorite scenario, Escape from Innsmouth. This was from the core set, and in it, your investigators head to Innsmouth to find out what went wrong with an investigation. And as you can guess, things go very wrong for you as well. In this scenario, I really didn't like because it's actually the most difficult scenario. My problem with it is that this, out of all the scenarios I played, this is the one I had to replay the most and repeat. Most of them I did have to repeat multiple times. It's a Cthulhu game. You're going to die and lose. But unlike many of the other scenarios, there wasn't a lot of randomness. You sort of already know what's going to happen. In fact, you probably will solve the mystery on your first one. You just will fail to survive. And what is annoying about that is that you keep going in over and over. It's very tight. You got to get things a lot of right, or at least sacrifice some investigators along the way if you want to escape. And because of that, it bothered me a little. It just it felt like the most waste of my time out of them all. But that can be a good or a bad thing. Some people really enjoy that. This does have, I believe, an extremely high defeat ratio on what I've read. Someone said, I heard 85%. I don't know how true that is. I don't know where they're getting that number. But yeah, it is going to be difficult. That might be up your alley. It just wasn't for me. The next one we're going to look at actually comes from the expansion Streets of Arkham. It is the Gangs of Arkham. This one my problem with this one really was it was great up until the end, at least for the replays. What happens is there are 2 gangs, major gangs in the Arkham City, and there's been a death which seems like it's going to cause a gang war. So you were there to find out what went wrong and try to solve it. What happened was it seems to be the mystery of who actually did it. All the clues were in one room. I thought I was going to gather all this stuff. In the end, it's just this one room. And from what I can tell, I mean, the few playthroughs, it seemed to be the same person every time. So it wasn't even like maybe this person had motive or this person. You can tell me otherwise, but the app gave me the same villain every time. So it sort of was disappointing to be all excited about finding out who or why, and then just to constantly find out who. The gangs themselves play an interesting role with a little bit mechanic. You do visit 2 parts of town, which I do like that, which a few other scenarios will do, and we'll talk about later. But I really wish it was written in a way so at least it wasn't all the clues are in one obvious place, in which made all the other gameplay not really matter. So when we're going back to the core set, we're going to talk about Cycles of Eternity. This is the first one, and honestly, the only reason it's not as highly rated compared to the rest is it's the basic. It's meant to teach you how the game works. That's not much else. Pretty much you're invited to a house where something terribly has gone wrong according to the butler, and he asks for your help. And things went terribly wrong. That's pretty much how every scenario goes. Things went terribly wrong. Not much else there. Fun, basic, gets the points of what Mansion Madness is about. Now we're going to go on to actually the prequels, I might say. These are the 2 scenarios they add if you have components from either the Mansion Madness First Edition or the 2 packs they made that have the tiles and monsters from the first one. The first one is the Cult of the Sentinel Hill. This one really stands out, which is pro or con, depending on how you feel. For Mansion Madness, it's not really a mystery as much as it's a dungeon crawl. Pretty much you go to Dunwich because something is going wrong, and you get kidnapped and wake up in a cell. It's up to you to stop the cult from summoning a horrific monster. It's basically that, no mystery, you're pretty much just making your way up to the final boss. So it's a bit more combat heavy, which is, for some people, they love. And partly also because it's different from the rest. Some people didn't like it that much. For me, it was A little disappointing because I do love the mysteries and stuff, but it was fun and a breath of fresh air compared to when playing through all the scenarios. The next one, also part of that, is the Dearly Departed. This is pretty much a zombie scenario. You find out things have been going wrong in the graveyard and you are investigating. Bit more of a mystery, but in the end it is just managing monster combat. But it was fun in that sense of dealing with zombies and how to sort of manipulate their movement when reading how they move and stuff, and by going in and out of rooms and stuff. Next up, we're going to Astral Alchemy. This one actually also comes from the streets of Arkham. In essence, you are called to a college campus when someone says there's horrible things going on, and you're going to find out what monster, as far as I can tell, the monster is only used in this scenario, and how to stop it. It's pretty much a go around, gather different components, and bring them to. What made this really annoying is there was a puzzle, a code you need to solve. But from what I can tell, it wasn't like, here's the code, we give you the key and the code and you have to solve it. You literally just need to find each thing, which was a little disappointing. At first I was excited, like, oh man, I'm gonna translate these letters around like they said with the cipher. That would have been really cool, and I think it would have made it a lot more interesting, especially if you made a varying on the code of what the letters were. But in the end it seemed to be, you just need to find this stuff. And that's where I think I gotta knock some points off on this one. Next up is actually one of the DLC ones, Dark Reflection. In this, your aunt inherited a house, and all of a sudden you hear that she wanted to move out, but did not appear at the train station when she was supposed to appear. It's up to you to find out what happened to her. So it becomes really interesting on finding out the story, which was a fun mystery. Once again, there will be something where the house transitions and changes, which is really cool. I just wish they could have taken advantage of more of what the theme was about. You probably can guess from the title of Dark Reflections, but I'll let you find out for yourself. Next up, we're actually now heading into the Threshold with Gates of Silverwood Manor. There have been multiple disappearances at the Silverwood Manor. Officer Mori, he has gone there to investigate and asked you to help him find out what's going on. Upon arrival, you'll meet him, as well as a journal he's written, but he swears he has not written that journal. So you're going to find out what kind of time shenanigans are happening in his household and how you can help solve it. It's definitely a lot of fun with the board actually changing multiple times throughout the map, which makes it for a really interesting scenario of when you set up your turn of where you can go next round, you might not be able to do there, or it's going to make it easier for you. Makes it a lot interesting of you planning out your turns each round, and a really cool story to boot. Next, we're going to go to What Lies Within. This is another one of the DLC ones. It focuses on you going to a house where there was a murder. However, the officer who was initially investigating the murder has decided to leave the house and says, I'm done with investigating this. And you're like, something must be going on. You find out what's been going on, and it involves this whole interesting scenario. Definitely love the story involved with it, including some weird ways to go around it. Reminds me actually of my very first campaign of playing Mansion Madison, the first edition, because of the ending, which I don't want to spoil too much on. But definitely was a lot of fun. Now, this next one was called Vengeful Impulses. This is where you really get some of the more fun mysteries involved. This was also in the Threshold expansion. In it, you will be playing a person invited to a house by someone who says, I'm going to be murdered. So you go, he throws these parties. So the first half of the game is actually just, you're going to be mingling with his fellow cohorts, finding out what's going on, what's their connections to him. Then the lights will go out, a tragic event will happen, and it's up to you to try and solve the mystery and find out who the killer is before it's too late. Definitely a Clue vibe. It does change who will be in the scenario, so it won't be always the same guess, which definitely helps with the replayability. And obviously there'll be a different killer each time, possibly a different killer. So you'll have to find the clues, and hopefully you'll be able to solve the mystery before it's too late. The next one is called Rising Tide. This also comes from the base. In this one, you will actually be visiting Innsmouth again because there will be a horrific summon happening and you're going to be trying to stop it. There are 5, maybe 6, possible suspects, 2 of which are cultists. What's really cool about this one is you start off in the hotel and you're able to meet, I believe, most of them. You get to meet all of them for a brief second. And then you'll actually have to clear the board and you'll choose between 3 different locations to visit. The docks, the houses, or the downtown. By choosing where to visit, you'll be able to possibly see clues of who the cultists are, which becomes really interesting because visiting certain places will have keys to unlock other places. So you have to decide where you want to go can prevent you or allow you to visit more areas in the next locations. This becomes really cool because then you have to decide where you want to explore and what you find. And the clues are pretty obvious. I thought, when I first played this, I thought that I was getting I thought my clues were sort of a red herring. It did seem really obvious, but it was pretty straightforward that that guy was the cultist. But it was really fun. And in the end, if they ask you, who do you want to follow? You got to choose who you follow to see if you follow the right people. If you don't, you're going to have a bit of combat because they summon some annoying deep ones. Next up was Shattered Bonds. I really enjoyed this because while it wasn't a mystery one, it was a really fun mechanic one. Pretty much you're invited to a house of a friend where something horrible has happened, and on your way there, your car is shoved off the road by an unknown force. So when you get there, you're forced to deal with the monster instead of running away by car. What actually happens is the force of evil is actually drawn to noise. So there'll be multiple points in the house where you actually can make noise, and you'll have to move the victims around the house to avoid those rooms. So it becomes a sort of fun, like almost resource management, but just people management to make sure that little people die as possible, and you can assemble a statue before it's too late. Finally, by far what I think is the actual best scenario comes from the streets of Arkham, and it's the ill-fated exhibit. In this, you are invited to a museum where 5 artifacts have recently been discovered, but it turns out one of them is cursed. Many people who have been involved with the exhibit and the unveiling of these artifacts have died mysteriously in very weird, odd ways. Almost a machine of death kind of scenario. It's up to you to find clues by talking to multiple people throughout the museum and find out which one is the cursed artifact. Unlike the previous mysteries where it's pretty obvious if you find that this person's holding the cult sigil, it's like they're the cultist, this one is much more complicated. You'll be talking to people and they'll say like, well, this artifact was found in August. Well, this one was said to cause nightmares. Well, this one was said to was found in the graveyard. This one wasn't found in the graveyard. So you'll have to actually get weird clues like that aren't really straightforward. And at the end, you're going to have to try to assemble them to find out which one lines up with the curse. In order to do so, the person will ask you questions, be like, okay, which one was found in August? Which one was this? And it might not be straightforward. It's pretty much, I had like almost Excel sheet, had to assemble like, okay, this one's found, this one's there. You're also timed because the longer you go, more people will die because of the curse in really weird ways. Like some will get a paper cut, then slip on a banana peel, and then smash their head. So it has this fun replay aspect of how quickly can you get through this with the least amount of deaths, which makes it really fun. And of course, the artifact changes, so you can't guarantee to know which one is the cursed one. Overall, is the one I had the most fun with trying to solve the puzzle. In the end, these all are mostly fun, but the ones at the end I thought were, at least for me, the most engaging. And now I want to take a quick talk of what I would like to see in the future in Mansion Madness, as well as some tips for you. I wish there was a way they could sort of specify how much combat would or would not be in it. Like, I actually played one scenario with a character who would gain a bonus every time he defeated a monster, but there are no monsters till literally the very end. This could be a pain if you to play this scenario with someone sort of new and they choose that character and they feel sort of worthless during most of the game. But that might be considered too spoilery, and I can understand why it's not there. The other thing is, if you are looking for more scenarios, like I just finished through all of them, there is something known as the Valkyrie system. This is actually fan-made scenarios, so you can play through them, which is really awesome. Because Mansion Madness, that was one of the big things. The first one is a little bit easier because it wasn't app-driven, of fan-made scenarios. And this is something I'm definitely going to look forward to now to find some really interesting ones. Finally, the paid DLC, while I did like them, they only relied on the core. What I would like for them to, from now on, for the paid DLC, is to probably make it more like their Arkham Horror expansion of Miskatonic Horrors, and to assume that everyone has one has all the expansions. I think it might be cool maybe at the end of the year, they just take everything that's been released, and they make one really nice big scenario that's really designed around having the pieces. So not as much randomness in terms of tiles and stuff, but it really makes sense that this is the museum tile that leads maybe because you need to find the body in the morgue and some of the other stuff. Because the old tiles had some really cool things of outside and indoor places. And of course, the other places add some really cool tiles too. I think that would make much more sense for the paid DLC ones, and also would require you to make new physical components. Plenty of those components in there are awesome and just need some more time to shine. Other than that, that's been my opinion of the scenarios and of the game. Let me know what you thought and how terrible my list was and my opinions were. You can leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear how you were able to beat some of these scenarios, or what you thought were troublesome or you thought was a very clever idea. Of course, subscribe and we'll probably talk about your comments on a later video. Until then, I'm Will Keeler and this has been Roll for Crit. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments down below.
Yeah.